Hello everyone, and welcome to my first course which I'm offering on this channel, which is a study of the histories of Herodotus. So I'd like to start out by talking about the reasons I've created this course and what my aims are for those taking it. So one of the few really positive things I took from learning history at college was the importance of reading and understanding primary source text. Having been largely unsatisfied with what I did learn at college, I was inspired to seek out primary texts of this nature myself. And what better place to start than with Herodotus, who's the father of history. It struck me in reading Herodotus that it wouldn't be too challenging, his histories, for a well-formed high schooler to understand. So my aim for this course is to make Herodotus as approachable as possible for new readers, particularly those in high school. I believe this text can serve as an excellent introduction to ancient history, one stripped of our modern preconceptions. So what I've done is to pick out passages from the text which I consider to be essential for understanding it. This way, I've created an abbreviated version of the text, which will be handy for readers who find reading the entire volume rather daunting. With that said, I would encourage you to, if you're interested, read the text in full, but don't feel that you have to for the purposes of this course. I've created a rubric, which I will link in the description, which contains all the information on the assigned readings. So before we start, I'd like to mention that the text I'll be using is the landmark edition of Herodotus, edited by Robert Strassler. I like this version because it contains a lot of helpful maps and pictures of archaeological artifacts. It also has some rather helpful scholarly articles in the appendix. However, you don't have to buy this version. You can buy any English translation. I got it for about $17 on Alibris, but you can find an English translation of Herodotus, or a Greek one if you can speak Greek, for as little as 99 cents before shipping. So, with that said, who was Herodotus? So this is on the slides here. This is a picture of a bust of Herodotus. So Herodotus was a historian from ancient Greece who is often called the father of history. His great work, The Histories, is considered to be the first real work of history in the Western tradition. Now, we must pause here and ask, what is history? Well, broadly, history is simply the study of the past. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines it as a branch of knowledge that records and explains past events. As an academic study, history involves using narrative to describe and organize these events for the purposes of examination, interpretation, and analysis. So history is quite literally a story, which historians sort of arrange in order to better understand our past. So before Herodotus, the closest thing you'd have to an historical record would be something like the work of Homer, who was of course not an historian but a poet. Herodotus was the first writer to investigate and write about past events using a systematic method, collecting his materials from various sources, which he would then cite in the text, and then arranging them with a critical eye into a coherent narrative. So Herodotus was born in Halicarnassus in modern-day Turkey. Little else is known for certain about his life, but we do know from his own accounts that he traveled extensively, and during his travel, he collected information for his histories. So what are the histories of Herodotus about? Well, the main concern of his work is to explore the origins of the Greco-Persian Wars. But Herodotus casts his net pretty wide, and the histories contain much information on the culture, geography, and politics of Greece, Western Asia, and North Africa as they were in Herodotus' time. Like all historians, Herodotus is not without his biases and blind spots. He was limited, as we all are, by the attitudes and knowledge of the time in which he lived. Generally speaking, when the author is talking about the Greek world, he is very reliable, but the farther away he gets from his home, the more questionable the material becomes. So as we go through the text, I will try to bring up supplemental material to get a more accurate picture, and to correct Herodotus when he strays into contradiction with, for instance, archaeological evidence. So before we begin, we should get a few terms out of the way. So Herodotus' histories mainly concern the Hellenic world. That is the period of ancient Greek history between 507 BC, which was the date of the first democracy in Athens, and 323 BC, which was the date of the death of Alexander the Great. So when Herodotus speaks of Hellenes, he refers to the people of ancient Greece, which was not a single united nation, but a collection of city-states which formed various alliances and treaties over the years. What we now call the country of Greece is the peninsula that Herodotus calls Attica. The same is true of Phoenicia, which is located in modern-day Lebanon, and when Herodotus talks about barbarians, he means any non-Hellenic or non-Greek people. So in summary, the Histories of Herodotus is a record of the history, culture, and geography of Greece, Western Asia, and Northern Africa. In particular, it explores the Greco-Persian Wars and the causes of these conflicts. It is the first truly historical account of Western culture, and it tries to examine past events in a critical eye and in an objective manner. So I'd like to finish by reading the opening paragraph of Herodotus where he states his intentions. And then next time, in our first lesson, we will pick up from there. All right, here we go. Herodotus of Halicarnassus here presents his research, so that human events do not fade with time. May the great and wonderful deeds, some brought forth by the Hellenes, others by the barbarians, not go unsung, as well as the causes that led them to make war on each other. So his main purpose is to remember the great deeds of the Hellenes and of the Persians. So it's interesting because we often think of, people in the past being very biased toward the word nation and very nationalistic and all these things, that Herodotus wants to remember not only the Greeks, which are his own people, but also the Persians. And he thinks that remembering great deeds is very important. And this is sort of the impetus which drives him to write this. And he also, of course, wants to remember the causes that led them to make war on each other. And of course, history is always concerned with why things happen, not just what happens. So with that said, we will pick up next time. Thanks for watching, and God bless everyone.